Dungeon Crawl Classics says your balance is for babies. I'm not calling you a baby. This is just the in-your-face, chaotic attitude that defines pretty much every aspect of combat in DCC. Hey there, adventurers. Welcome back to Short Rest Studios. I'm Judd, and I'm scouting out the best the TTRPG world has to offer so you don't have to quest alone. Goodman Games' Dungeon Crawl Classics combines old-school Appendix N pulp fantasy with D&D 3.5e mechanics, wraps it up in the text-heavy style of first edition AD&D, and then cranks the crazy up to 11. When balancing 5.5e's combat encounters feels too much like a math problem, DCC is exactly the injection of chaos you need.
In a word, chaos.
First of all, crits and fumbles in Dungeon Crawl Classics are not just simple hits and misses. And this is one of those places where the game shows that maybe it isn't for everyone, but if you love unpredictability, this is where the game shines. DCC loves its random tables, so much, in fact, that you can get a whole separate book that's just the tables from the core book to make them easier to find. Just like modern D&D, DCC uses the D20 core roll, and a Nat 1 is a critical fumble, and a Nat 20 is a critical success. On a Nat 1, you don't just take the miss, you roll on a fumble table. This is a controversial house rule for some GMs, but it's built right into DCC. You roll a die determined by your armor and subtract your luck modifier, no armor, and you roll a d4. Light armor is a d8, moderate armor a d12, and if you're wearing heavy armor, you roll a d16 on the fumble table. Yes, I did say a d16. And in this case, the higher the result, the worse the outcome. If you're not wearing armor, there's a good chance you'll just miss, and that's that. Or your weapon could be damaged. On the high end, you might drop it, but if you're wearing heavy armor, you might have to spend a round prone or even hurt yourself. And listen, I know not everyone thinks that's fun, but I do. I think we can all agree, though, that critical hits in DCC are a freaking blast. It can vary for some classes, but generally a Nat 20 is a critical hit just like 5.5e, but the last thing we want in a game known for chaos is for crits to just predictably double damage. Instead, every character in DCC gets a crit die that's determined by their class and level. At level 0, you have no class, especially if you're a gongfarmer. That was a no class joke. So you get a D4 crit die. A level 3 thief gets a D14. A level 6 warrior gets a D30. A level 10 wizard gets a 2D20 plus a D14. That's just to give you an idea how wild the crit dice get. After you roll a crit, you then roll your crit die or dice on one of the 5 crit tables. Which table you roll on is also determined by your class and level, and you add your luck modifier because the higher the better. Now, if you roll a 0 or lower, because sometimes your luck modifier can be negative, you'll still do damage, but you might drop your weapon or the like. But even a low roll like a 1 will generally add extra damage. But a high roll? Not only can you get extra damage, you can cause your opponent to lose intelligence, or knock them unconscious, or permanently paralyze them, or kill them instantly. DCC is straight up brutal. The game is, of course, notorious for its 0 level funnel, a feature you do find in other games, even modern D&D if you know where to look, like this video. The funnel, or meat grinder as it's known in some games, is your character's origin story. Essentially, every player in a funnel runs multiple 0 level characters, and only the ones that survive make it to level 1. So you've each got 2 to 4 characters who could each have as few as 1 hit point running around getting murdered. If the players are lucky, they might each have 1 PC survive and advance to level 1, and you're probably still just as likely to die. Until you get a few levels in, survival just isn't the norm. Now, if that sounds like too much, keep in mind that DCC's whole mission is to capture the feel of Appendix N. the works of fiction that Gary Gygax listed as inspirations in the original AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide by authors like Moorcock, Vance, Tolkien, and Leiber. Check this out from the DCC core book. The heroes of Appendix N did not always face enemies suitable to their power level, nor did they proceed on a predictable path to greater competencies. That sounds very Gygaxian. Occasionally, they fled their enemies, better to stay alive and fight another day. And that's the key to surviving in DCC. Sometimes running away is the right call. Sometimes the game wants you to run away. See, you gain XP by surviving an encounter, not just by winning it. This next bit isn't part of combat per se, but it has a big impact on how combat plays out. In DCC, players can't min-max. It's not just discouraged. If you actually follow the game's codified character creation process, optimization is impossible. DCC doesn't like encounter balance because ensuring combat is balanced for the heroes isn't true to Appendix N, but it looks to achieve its own kind of balance. It puts the characters on an even playing field with each other by randomizing every aspect of the creation process. You definitely create characters in DCC, you don't build them. The funnel randomizes your backstory and even which character you actually play long term. I'm using long term loosely here, but you start by rolling 3d6 for ability scores as Crom intended. No surprise there really, but raw, you're expected to roll in order: strength, agility, stamina, personality, intelligence, and luck, without swapping around or re-rolling. DCC wants this to be as random as possible.
Crom, I've never prayed you before.
Then you determine your 0 level occupation, basically your PC's background, and yeah, you guessed it, that's random too. You roll a D100 on the occupation table. You can be anything from an alchemist to a dwarven rat catcher to a jester to a woodcutter. Of course, everybody's favorite is the gongfarmer. That means you clean poop from the outhouse. You're welcome. You actually get to choose your alignment and buy some starting equipment. But the whole point here is that everybody sucks. As tough as first level play can be in 5e or 5.5, your D&D character is still more than the average person. In DCC, you're exactly the average person, and you have to survive a series of desperate, brutal encounters to become more. Hey, if you want a closer look at how I run my own games, I share my personal campaign notes in the Adventurers Guild. As a member, you can vote on which game systems I cover, get maps for your games, and more. Plus, it's absolutely the best way to support the channel. Join the guild at patreon.com/shortreststudios or by hitting the join button right under this video. In DCC, death is a constant threat, and healing is hard-earned. You start with unbelievably low hit points, and even if you get all the way to level 10, DCC's highest, you never get anywhere near the territory of modern D&D's astronomically high numbers. And the rules are pretty straightforward. A character or monster dies when it reaches 0 hit points. Yeah, the book says that, and it's not entirely true. There are no death saves in DCC. This doesn't mean there's no hope, but hope is appropriately slim. And there are still consequences. If you're at level 0, you're dead at 0 HP. No takebacks, no do-overs. At level 1, you're bleeding out, and if no one acts to heal you in one round, you're gone. You get an additional round at each higher level. At 2nd, you have 2 rounds to be healed, and so on. If you were saved while bleeding out, you permanently lose 1 stamina, but you get a cool scar to make up for it. There's also a chance that if you recover a dead ally's body within an hour, they may not actually be dead. You roll them over and they can roll a luck check. They roll a d20 minus their luck modifier, and if they come in under their luck score, they were just simply knocked out, stunned, or otherwise incapacitated. In this case, you're groggy, which means you take -4 to all rolls for the next hour, and you take a permanent -1 penalty to strength, agility, or stamina. Then there's healing. When you leave D&D for Dungeon Crawl Classics, gone are the days of waking up in the morning having miraculously recovered from almost being decapitated the day before. A good night's rest will heal 1 HP. If you take a full day of bed rest, you can double that. Critical hits, which cause extra damage, and conditions are healed when the damage of that hit is healed. For example, if an enemy crits you and you take a kneecap strike, you have a penalty to movement plus 4 HP of damage in addition to the regular damage roll. You'll keep the movement penalty until you heal those 4 hit points. And those quote-unquote permanent ability losses, like when you take -1 stamina from bleeding out, heal at the same rate as your HP. Except for luck. You can't regain luck without appealing to the gods, unless you're a halfling. Adventure's Dungeon Crawl Classics is a rich game system. These are just some of the ways it delivers on the Appendix N chaos that D&D is missing. I didn't even get into mighty deeds of arms or the insane magic system. If you dig content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And please consider joining the Adventurers Guild at patreon.com/shortreststudios. You'll get access to my unedited interviews with creators like James Introcaso of MCDM and Nimbles Evan Diaz, library of dice and logos maps, my campaign notes, and even the opportunity, as I said before, to help me decide what games I talk about next. Yes, DCC combat is chaotic, but the magic is absolutely wild. Find out where it falls in this countdown of my favorite magic systems, and I'll see you on the next short rest. And remember, you don't have to quest alone.